All right. Well, we're back on our V-bottom project right here, and we're going to be producing quite a few videos on this boat. Next week, we're going to be putting up some new names on our Patreon board. That's kind of fun for us because, you know, we know everybody's interested, and, you know, it's just great. But back to this project right here, we've got a set of chines. We've got one chine put in on, this would be the port side, and, you know, it's a little bit difficult actually to put it in there really. But I think the most difficult part of it was trying to figure out how it should be done or what's going to happen with that chine log, because I wouldn't say that these V-bottom boats are easier to build at all than a round bilge boat, not even remotely. They've got some kind of intricacies that are a little bit hard to understand and different things like that. One of the things I can tell you is that, you know, in this area of the boat back aft here, you know, the side planking's on the side of the chine log, and the bottom or the sole is on, you know, 90 degrees to it on the bottom of the chine log. Well, you get up here, there really starts to be a transition in the way it's all shaped and the way it goes together. At this position right here, the bottom planking or the sole planking really won't even be there. It's going to get terminated somewhere up in this position right here. So it's only the bottom planking that's going to come down and connect to the chine log like this. And it's quite a bit different because as you get forward or even forward of this position, the bottom planking is fastened to the side of the chine log just like the side planking is. So, you know, it's quite something to understand. And the other thing that's going to be different is that aft, the bottom planking is going to overlap the side planking, but not up here, because I can't make it do that. If I tried to make it do that, it would have to bevel the side planking off way up into here somewhere. This isn't going to work out. So what you do is there's a transition in the way the side planking and the bottom planking meet up with each other and all kinds of different things right here. I'm going to try to show you a little bit of everything about that. And then it's kind of another thing is trying to get this bevel on the chine right here, because that's a little difficult too, because if you try to do it in place, I mean, it can be done, and I had it in place, and I tried different things. I tried using a slick on it, and I tried using a plane on it, and different things like that, just to experiment with it, and you run into different difficulties. You can foul up with a piece of wood that you're not trying to touch right here, different things like that. So, you know, we're going to mark it out. I'm going to show you how we marked it out. And after we fit that chine up forward, we took it out and cut this bevel on it before we put it back in. So that's another little thing I'm going to show you. Now what I've done up forward here is I've fit the chine log right around the stem kind of neatly. The reason why is because the beveling to accept the side planking doesn't get all the way to the after edge of the stem. So if I cut the chine log off just on an angle right straight across, you'd have this void behind it, which, you know, really wouldn't hurt anything, but we want it to look pretty nice. So I fit it right around there. And, you know, it's kind of tricky because if you raise the chine log up even 1/4 of an inch, that fit doesn't fit any longer, or down or anything else, or the way you twist it, you know, it all affects the way that fit is. So, you know, we're just going to, once we've got this one fit, and we do, we're going to steal some of the bevels off of this one and apply them to the next chine log and cut that and get that to fit on the other side. Sawing something like this across the grain diagonally, you know, from 2 different directions, you have to be pretty careful. And one of the things you want to do is get started exactly right, you know, right in the right spot. And that's what getting started means. You're in the right spot. Then once you get going a little tiny bit, then you can kind of steer the saw, you know, to follow the line. You know, and you don't want to be in too deep before you do that. You've got to get following the line. Once you do that, you know, you're pretty much off and running. And then you're going to come in exactly the other opposite direction. You know, you have to reposition yourself somehow, or the piece of material, something, so that you're comfortable. You can't even do this stuff unless you're in the right spot. You have to be comfortable when you're doing it, and it comes out right. If you're not, it doesn't come out right. Then I'm going to take a rabbet plane and I'm going to tune it up a little bit with the rabbet plane. Even that's a little difficult because you are planing end grain. The rabbet plane wasn't necessarily designed to do that. And it's a short distance across there, so the plane kind of moves around a little bit, and it's, you know, hard to get on exactly the right angle or whatever. You'd think you could just stuff it in the corner there and it worked perfect, but it doesn't, you know, so. And it doesn't really get at the very corner exactly right, so you're going to have to take that out, you know, with another tool. Now Caleb and I are going to force this chine into position. You're going to have to go out a little bit more, Caleb, like that, yeah. This one might be trouble because of... All right, now you can go in some. Keep going. It's just a trial run right here, right now. It's not bedded, but we don't want to scrape the chine along the inside edge of the plank because it would just chew the plank up. That's why I've made the notches in the stations a little bit big so that you could bend the very end of the chine well inboard when you're pulling it down in those notches. And the other thing is that's the way you have to have it, because when you bed it, you want to drop it in there without having it rub on the side plank and rub all your bedding right off. So, you know, there's a number of reasons why you do these things, and, you know, we're just going to keep showing you more of them. All right, we got a little bit of space there, Caleb, so we're going to give it a couple taps lightly, you know, just to, yeah, go ahead. A little lighter than that even. All right, let me take a peek at it here. All right, give it one more tap. Okay, hang on. All right, Caleb, give it one more tap forward there. All right, that's good. It's made contact in the back. And it's touching right up in here, but it's got a little space up here. It actually has to move uphill a little bit, and then it'll fit a little bit better. It's got to be twisted a little bit, and there's going to be some more material taken off up here at the very top. So, you know, we're just going to slide it uphill and see how well we can get that to fit. We'll have to take it out one more time and whittle at it a little bit. Now I'm using a sliding square to measure the height of the chine on the first side. I just push it up against the plank and nice and flat, and then make a little mark on it with a blue magic marker. Then I'll take that to the other side, and then I'll just clamp it in position right there. Now I'm going to do that at the stations and maybe in between the stations a little bit, so, you know, I get it from one end to the other. The chine actually makes a nice fair sweep, so you don't only have to do it in a few spots to get it the same height. Now I've clamped some verticals on the inside of the plank in here, up against the bottom of the chine. So the next time I put it in, I'm just going to push it right down to these verticals. I won't have to keep measuring it or doing anything like that. So that kind of controls where it's going to go. Now I've got a number of other things to do here. So. Let me go look at the other side for a second. I just don't want to make a mistake here. All right, I see what's going to happen. It's going to come right to this corner. So let me go over on the other side here. All right, 95 1/4. So now you're going to put it on the chine, 95 1/4. Now I'm at the after end of the chine log, and we're going to make an attempt to cut it off the right length. We made a mark up forward, which is kind of a common mark on the chine and the plank. I'm going to measure on the plank to the transom, and then I just have to pick up the bevels with a bevel set athwartships and vertically, and draw lines on the chine using that length mark that I made, and then I'm ready to saw. Now I'm making this cut with a handsaw as well. There doesn't seem to be any other electric tool that will do it just about as easy as this. So, you know, I'll hack it off with a handsaw and then put it back in position and see how well it fits. And then I'm just going to dub the corner of it off, the very, very corner of it with any plane really, but I'm using my little rabbet plane because that's the closest. Caleb and I are going to bend it well inboard before we can snap it down into position. But once we've got it in there, we'll bring it right up close to where it belongs, and it looks like it needs a little bit of scribing, so we'll scribe it a little tiny bit just with a magic marker, and then we're going to take it back out and prop it well up in the air, because if I get it away from the transom far enough, I can use my electric plane to just dub the very end of it. And the electric plane, again, for something like this is the only tool that really works well. You know, I can't do it with a hand plane. I'd just be scrubbing at it forever, or sawing it again because it's just too close to the end. You know, I mean, the electric plane just works perfect on something like this. That's good. Perfect. Well, now I'm up in the eyes of the boat, is what you would call this area right here. I'm actually standing inside the boat with my body sticking up through the bottom. And what I'm going to do is take an electric plane and cut an angle on this side of the stem that's just like this side, because I need to be able to mate the bottom planking up against it. I'm trying to develop a line on top of the chine log here so that when I take the chine log out, I can bevel it off previous to putting it back in there, because if I don't, it's quite a bit of work to get this bevel. So I don't really want to have to do it in place. I'd rather develop the line, take it out, plane it, and put it back in. I'm going to take it out anyhow to bed it, so that's what I'm up to. And you know, I'm doing this with an electric plane again. This boat has been designed to make the best use of an electric plane that you could possibly make out of it. So everything here is hangover, cut off, and then plane down. I guess that's another, you know, you can add that to hangover and cut off. But so, you know, it's not rabbited stem like I told you before, so I can just take care of it with an electric plane. Otherwise, I'd have quite a bit of work. So let me just grab my plane here and get started here. Oh, we're not plugged in, Caleb. When I'm first starting to plane, it's just a little bit difficult because I'm not going to start right at the heel end of the stem. I really have no need to do that right now. So I'm planing in a little bit of a hollow right here just to get started. And like I say, you're going to have the blade sticking out quite a ways to get going. Once you get that hollow in there, the rest of it's pretty easy because, you know, the stem is curved in the right way so that it makes the plane want to eat right into it real easy. Now, what I'm doing here is I've made this gauge here. It's like a marking gauge, actually. I've just cut the corner out right here so that this corner would sit right in there, because I'm going to bevel the top of the chine off, you know, way back into here somewhere. So in order so that it doesn't sit on there in any funny way, I've cut that corner out. Now I can see how it's bearing up here. So basically what I'm going to do is keep planing it and picking this thing up and setting it on there and see how well it fits. So it's a progression to it, but I don't have to know it in degrees or anything like that. Basically, I have to plane it until this thing lays down on there. Yeah, I'm not even close to the line in the middle here. So I'm going to take a little bit more here. I've readjusted the electric plane. That just means that I've raised the forward planting a little bit so that it digs in a little bit deeper. And, you know, it just cuts way fast, real fast. The more you crank it up, the faster it cuts. And it cuts great. With the electric plane, I can sneak up on either one of these lines individually, because I don't even have to have the blades hanging over the other line. I can either displace it to one side, or I can actually tip it. So it's pretty easy not to go over the line on either side. So right now I'm just chewing off most of the material, and as I get down closer to the line, I'll back up that adjustment some more so that it just planes very lightly, and then I can make longer strokes and make it come out really nice and sweet. But I have to keep checking it. I'm going to check it up near the stem, you know, right up forward near the chine log. I'm going to check it back aft, and I know I'll have to go back and forth a few times from one place to the next, and you know, because I was digging in pretty good before. Now I'm being a little bit more deliberate, you might say, and going a little slower with the plane backed off a little bit, because I just don't want to get past those lines. Now I think you can tell that this is one whole lot easier than rabbiting a stem. You know, we're doing this stuff in like 10 minutes rather than spending hours and hours and hours rabbiting a stem. And to try to rabbit a laminated stem, well, that's twice as difficult because there's just no direction you can come at it with a chisel or anything else that makes any sense. You're getting into the grain one way, you know, and then you turn around and you try to go the other way and you're getting into the grain that way. So, you know, it's difficult. It can be done, and I've done it many times, but with this right here, this is skiff building. This is the way you do it when you're building skiffs. You do it the easy way. Now I'm going to test out that bevel that I've cut on the stem, and it fits pretty decent, but the planking's going to be on in this direction. You see, it's going to be canted forward a little bit like that, and it fits really nice like that. But if I were to put it this way, look at the space that's developed up at the top of it right there. So you have to put these planks in the direction when you're testing these bevels that you're going to put them on the boat. So I have to know that. I mean, I have to understand that these planks are going to be canted forward in this direction like this. You know, so that's, you know, that's what we have to do. You have to be awful careful with something like this. Once you plane it down too far, you're all done. Now this is a little marking gauge that I made here because it's very important that I figure out exactly where the top of that chine is, like somewhere up in here, because otherwise I can't place the screws properly. So I want a nice line, and this is the way to get it. This thing just hangs over the planking. It feels the very top of this log right here, and then I've got a pencil mark on this side of it that I'm just going to slide my pencil along and make a mark on the side of the boat, like this. Now you see that line is the very top of the chine log, so when I put screws in here, I want to put them up in here, because otherwise, you know, I'll be off the chine log, or they'll be coming out the top of the chine log, and you know, I only have a certain amount of space here to put screws in. So, you know, we're going to mark it, make sure we get them in the right spot. Before I take the chine out and bed it, I'm going to quickly use that same marking gauge that I used up forward to chafe off the stem to make a mark on top of the chine log for the bevel that's needed to accept the planking. Once I've made those marks, Caleb and I are going to take that chine log right out of position and set it down on a couple of sawhorses. That's good. Now I got to get this on. I'm using my rabbit plane to make a little bit of an adjustment on the end. It's just something I looked at, and I didn't even have to mark it. I just decided, well, I need to take a little bit out over here or a little bit out over there. So difficult. Now I'm just going to trim this corner out a little tiny bit right here. It was a little difficult to get at it with the rabbit plane. And of course this is end grain, so nothing planes any harder than this or works any harder than this really, but we just want to make sure that corner's out of there so it doesn't foul up on that corner. And that's it. All right. That's good. Now I'm going to plane it between this line right here on the top of the chine to this line on the side of the chine. So, you know, that's a progression too, but the electric plane does all that kind of stuff really, really nicely. I don't want to go past it because I get myself in trouble. And it doesn't have to be perfect either because I can touch it all up with a plane in place after it's all fastened in. And like I said, this is a progression of bevel. The bevel doesn't stay the same on this end as it is on that end. So, you know, you twist your plane a little bit as you go and just be very careful you don't pass the two lines. Now I'm cutting this bevel on the chine with the chine outside of the boat on a couple of horses because it just makes it way, way easier. I've got it marked out, so there's no problem there. And the electric plane takes all the work out of it. If I tried to do it in place, I'd have to use all kinds of different things. A slick, I mean, you could try anything, in ads, you know, a plane, all kinds of stuff, but you're going to have to work at it compared to this. The next thing I have to do is figure out right where I'm going to put every screw, all the way down the side of the boat, every 5 inches. I don't want to guess at it when I'm going to put the screws in because I don't have all the time in the world. So I mark it out first, very easy. I want to get this done right now because I don't want to have to take time once I've spread out the polysulfide. Now we're going to apply a few beads of polysulfide right down the whole thing. Up forward you only need maybe 3 or a couple, and then back aft we'll need maybe 4 beads. So you put those right on there very quickly. There really isn't any need to spread that out with a tooth trowel or do anything like that, because when you put it in place, the pressure that the clamps apply to it just spreads it right out over the whole surface, and it just comes out perfect. So, you know, it's pretty simple to do. All right, now this is the part that nobody likes, trying to squeeze these chines in there without wiping all the bedding off of it. So it's got to go in quite a ways, Caleb. Okay, I got it. All right, hang on. All right, go downhill some. I'm going to put a little stick right in here. Yeah, just to hold it out. All right, and now grab a clamp. Stick it right here. Okay, that's good for right this minute. All right, whack it. Again. Keep coming. Keep coming. Yep. A little bit more. One more. All right, let me go look at it from the other side. Now that I've got the forward end of the chine log into position, I can move back aft. I've got to bend the chine log again way over to the center line of the boat to get it into position. Once I do that, I can just clamp it right up right there, and I'm going to put a clamp every 5 inches along that chine log. Now it's time to drill and screw. Caleb's been soaping up the screws a little bit with some beeswax. And, you know, I've drilled quite a few holes. I'm not using a tapered drill bit like most people use. I'm using a step-down drill bit because it works way better for me. It just makes the screws bite better and they drive in easier and everything else. But that little bit of lubrication and just an electric drill, a battery-powered drill, and you can just blast them right in there. I'm using 1 3/4" 12 bronze straight slotted screws. The only kind of screws to use, despite what a lot of people think. And they work great. They can come out. You can cut slots in them, doing different things like that. And they last longer than anything else, including stainless steel. So, well, there. We've got the starboard side chine log fastened right in. And we're going to start surfacing it after a little while when all this life cork hardens up, because we can't be playing with that stuff right now. It just gets everywhere. You let it harden up, and then you can peel it right off so it doesn't make a mess. So finally taking the clamps off, and looking forward to our next operation here. We're going to have to go into the shop next to all the machines and cut all the frames out of different pieces of stock that we've got. You know, we just have to scare up all the pieces, but you know, they're all short. So it's not scraps really, but you know, just select pieces that we can use for the framing. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to mill out the framing and then cut the slot for the chine in the bottom of them and get those in place.